I'm a West Ender because we moved into the West End, and I've been here most all the time. I lived across from Althoff, and then I came here, which is 6 blocks away or something, for the last 32 years. So I basically have my roots here. And I've seen what's happening. I've seen the long-term things. I can remember when I was first moved into Belleville in '57, Main Street Market was down on 95th Street or so, where later English's Tavern was. And then I said English's Tavern was where Heidig Pharmacy is. That's where the old church building was. Blessed Sacrament is an old wooden frame building that was kept there. When this parish was first started, they just had a lot on the corner. The address is 5923 North Belt because that was the house that's near the garage. There was a house there, and that's what they gave them. A blank, empty field and a house. They had Mass in the basement, weekday Masses. The first thing they built was the school, and this was very typical. I'm sure if you look at St. Augustine's, was started the same year we were. But it gives you an idea, too, to back up a bit. In 1955, then, people were leaving East St. Louis and moving, and in Bishop Zurwest's mind, they would naturally just come to Belleville. So we added on parishes here. And when you look at the history of it, there was a time, though, this school had 500 kids in it. And so did Blessed Sacrament. They all did. So obviously you needed those parishes, that is, if you needed those schools. So the other thing in the diocese here, we had a tendency, I think, when a parish got up to like 1,000 households, split it in two. Now today, if you look at parishes, 3,000, 5,000, with maybe 3 priests. See, we had all separate little parishes. And the people here I noticed in the West End, we first moved into Blessed Sacrament. We lived off of North 82nd. I had cousins who lived in, they called that Commodore Heights when you first went in. And this group of people were not the wealthy. They just had, moved up to Belleville. Farther west, when you got to like Signal Hill Boulevard, those were people who chose to move up here, but they had made their money in East St. Louis, and it was a step up. But these people moved out mainly because I think in many cases they felt they left their homes, sold their homes in East St. Louis at a loss, moved up here, and it was a very different group of people. They had come, and the difference was people who moved here then, this was their last place. Grandma and Grandpa moved here. It was a step up from what they had in East St. Louis, but they were very intransigent. They were not going to give up, so nobody was going to force them out of their house. See, this parish was separated off from Blessed Sacrament and St. Henry's. Just as the one in St. Augustine of Canterbury was separated off from St. Henry's, St. Mary's, and Cathedral in some cases. That's what they had to do. In our diocese, when you got to be 1,000, they tended to split the parish. So that was okay, but in those days, remember, you had a priest, an associate. You didn't have any parish staff. People used that as a place to come to church. They used the school. They expected certain things, but you had a housekeeper. That was about the only lay employee and a maintenance man. So the difference is today people expect a lot more, and so you have larger parishes. If we were doing this all over again, we would not establish 8 parishes in Belleville. Even at that time, we would have just grown the parishes that we had, but that was the thinking. And places on the East Coast, I'd been there where they had Masses like 7 or 8 on Sunday in the parish. Today you might fill the church Christmas and Easter, but a lot of times it's little slim pickings after that. My grandmother had moved to Belleville from Ironton, Missouri, and this was 1880s, 1890s. At that point, they lived near where the fairgrounds are today in Belleville. But she went to school to St. Luke's because Cathedral, they still taught school in German. It was the German school. If you went to St. Luke's, you could go to the English-speaking school. And that's right down at C Street in North Illinois. There's that store. It's I think appliance or heating, but they have a little covered walkway. That was a candy store, and she used to go down there and could get candy and stuff. She told me that later. But the reason, though, that I say that she had to go to St. Luke's because all the school, everything was in German, and that was very much the case even when we moved here in '57. If you went to the east end of town and the bakeries and stuff, you'd hear German being spoken. We had the school picnics were held at the old fairgrounds, and I'd be sent out to help, and there's some old guys there setting up stands, and they're talking in German the whole time, and it just presumes that. You're talking about 57. Today you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody, and you can't find a German restaurant. That's the other thing I find interesting.